Thank you, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is the special Board of Ed meeting to order. It is 6:31. We're in the Nashua North Boardroom. And I will hand the floor over to Dr. Andre.
Thank you. Apologize for really calling the special.
I forgot to do roll call.
Oh, sorry.
I just got really excited. The special meetings. Okay.
Right,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Here. Ms. Prin,
Here.
Ms. Daniels-Williams.
Here.
Mr. Claffey.
Here.
Miss Darling is not here. Ms. Gilio.
Here.
I'm here, and Ms. Raymond. Here. All right. And we also have Dr. Andre and a very special guest. Mr. Dowd is here. Or Alderman Dowd, I'm sorry.
Right. It's just our meeting butts up against joint special after, so everybody started to get settled before we started. Not you guys. Okay. Thank you.
Oh.
Unfortunately, I think this was Dr. Andre's copy.
I have one in mind. I'm good. So essentially, tonight, it's really looking for a motion for a budget transfer. It's regarding to a DOE 25. So it's a report that we have to submit every year. It's typically due September 1st of every year across the state. Each year, we actually look for a 30 or a 60-day extension because the district's books are not always closed and the city's books aren't closed. And every year, it's a annual extension. We get the extension from the state, whether it's 30 or 60 days. And the DOE 25 is essentially what did the city and the district spend last year? What was our expenses? What was our revenues coming through? And it needs to be reconciled. And then once it's reconciled, it goes to the state for approval. And then the city can, at that point, essentially say, we have the DOE 25, and now we can give you your tax rate. And so that's a big ask of it. But it's always on last year's revenues and expenses. Just for informational purposes, we signed the DOE 25 last year on November 17th. So we're not that far off from a yearly kind of progress. This year, when we were going through the reconciliation, there are more expenses than revenues. And so the city has to do a transfer in order to make that reconciliation. And you can see on page 2, it's about a $500,000 transfer. And so that's why we need board approval. And that it should have came to light on Monday night, and we would have had that in the board meeting. But we've been cleaning up the books for the last couple weeks. We didn't have that exact number from Monday to bring it on to the board. We finally came to the right number yesterday afternoon, or even this morning. But we needed the approval for the transfer so the city can actually submit the DOE 25 tomorrow, so that we can continue the process. So we couldn't wait for the next meeting. We just need to keep the train moving along the tracks. So it is a process that we do every year. It is around this time of year. This year, the transfer of the expenses and revenues are much more than they have been in the past. Usually it's an adjusted entry. They make the entry because it's $500,000. It's just, again, in full transparency. We wanted to bring it in front of the board, both on the city side and on the board side, so that there is some transparency on, there will be money moving from year end. The transfer is coming from year-end surplus in benefits in the operating that will cover the grants this year. So it won't be impacting this year's operating budget, if that makes sense. And we can come into a lot more detail at the next finance meeting. Ms. Raymond?
I didn't even have to raise my hand anymore.
I saw the flinch.
So typically, in the last 7 years that I've been on the board, we've had surpluses at the end of the year when we reconcile. Usually it's between $200,000 and $300,000. So this year, we're on the opposite of that. We're short $500,000. So my question is there, I mean, what can we point to? Is it because special ed costs? Is it because the change in the Title I grants? Like,
So this is the confusing. So this is mostly it's revenues to grants, and some of the grants closed 9/30 of 2021. So they're going back a couple of years and how were they built and how were they expensed. Some of the grants are 6/30 of 2030. So if you look on page 2, you can see one of for like the 21st Century grant closed actually a year ago. And so what was getting billed, because it was after the last year's DO25, it wasn't in that report, it's in this year's report. So it's actually a year out, and when we're closing and doing the reconciliation, it's coming to light more now than from the operating budget.
okay. And so this is a reduction. So I'm looking on the right-hand column, all the grants. This is money that we had expected to get from grants and did not get from grants?
No, so, and again, full transparency, there's an aspect, again, where we're looking at cleaning up our grants. So what are we actually billing to the grants, right? So what's the revenues coming into grants? We'll call it ESSA grant, IDEA, Title I, Title III. And how is that being built into the Lawson system? And are we charging the right amounts?
Okay.
And so it's an accounting cleanup on what came to light over the last couple of years was that we had revenue in grants that we were charging the operating budget, and then which we shouldn't be doing. And then sometimes we were charging the operating budget and we should have been charging grants. So it's been a lot of cleanup over the last 2 years. Mr. Donovan, Mr. Gray, Tina in grants management has really unpacked. And we go back to some of these 2023 grants, it was a previous grant manager, it was a previous assistant business person. Dan did a great job of building things, but he wasn't in the weeds, so we're unpacking a lot, and these are just year-end kind of transfers. But we do have to, again, in full honesty, clean up our grants and the way that things are getting built. The Lawson system, which is on the city side, should be our Bible. We have a grant management system that's through the DOE, and that's where a lot of things were living. And weren't transferring over into the Lawson system.
Okay.
So I don't want to, I've had a side-by conversation, we'll have more conversations. And I mean, it's a little prelude, but even for our 7 o'clock meeting, is our accounting system for the JSSBC also marrying what's in the Lawson system as well. So we need to do a lot of cleanup, and this is a cleanup that happens every year, not to this extent. And so that's some of the transfer. Because it's the $500,000 mark, again, I think from the city side, from the district side, we want full transparency that it's a bigger transfer than we typically do on a year end to submit this report. And I know there was a press release that went out today. We're a couple days behind than we typically do. So last year was November 17th when the report was completed. This year, what's tomorrow, the 21st? 22nd. So we're about a week behind of our typical submission.
Okay. So it sounds like we have new staff going through this process, and we're using Lawson now. So when we do this in 12 months, hopefully we will have caught the errors and we won't
Yeah.
have a repeat.
We are cleaning up a lot. So we already flagged a couple things in the last couple of years around, say, a Title I. ESSA 3, we're cleaning out right now. We think ESSA 3 is actually pretty tight. So there might be a little things just verifying, but it's not at this amount. So we're in much better shape kind of moving forward, but this is cleaning out the last couple of years. So again, we wanted full transparency on things kind of coming out on. We have some cleanup on our side, absolutely. But again, we just want to make sure that everybody knows there's going to be a transfer of money.
All right, and the last question is, you said that the money for this is coming from savings that we had from benefits, so like health insurance,
That's my
dental.
understanding. Yeah. So, which impacts on what's the city reporting on what was their end of year revenues and surplus.
Got it. Thank you.
So the motion is to request the transfer from,
It's in the book. Yeah. I think the motion's written in the book. It's
I just want to, because the city benefits, we don't hold that line.
Correct.
So we're asking the city to release that money.
So this motion, we worked with the city on the writing of it, on where the lines would be coming from.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to transfer up to $517,000 from the 1,000 general fund school department benefit account 91.1.992322.52300 into Fund 3800 School Grants Fund for the purpose of funding extra benefits with the federal grant expenses.
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion, comments, questions? Ms. Daniels-Williams?
Yes, so I have a question. Over these last years for the grants, where has this money been sitting? Like, so if it goes back to 2021 and it was a negative, where has that been sitting and why is it all coming out of this year's?
So what do you mean by sitting?
So if the grant ended in 2021 and it was a negative balance then, how did that money get paid? Like, I have questions about the different line items. So if it's 2021, did we just not pay that or did we take that money from somewhere else?
No, so the expenses are over the revenue. So we would have taken the money from, so we'll use the special education line that we're talking about here. That's from 2021. In that special education line coming through IDEA would be a lot of teachers' salaries and benefits. That's majority of our federal funds. When IDEA Title I is salaries. So all of our teachers were paid. They all received their benefits. What ended up happening is that we actually overbilled, like we charged too much to that line, which got us into the negative. And so everyone was still paid. When we reconcile later, we would actually see where we would have to reconcile. If it was too much, we would actually do a reversal from our operating fund because we didn't have enough revenue in the grant revenue coming in to cover all the expenses, and then we would cover the expenses in the operating budget. What we need to start doing is that if we'll pick an IDEA kind of moving forward, if we only have just simple, like $100. And last year, it cost us $100, and mostly that was in salaries. And then the contract goes forward, and there's a new year. The teachers get the 4% raise that's in the contract, and benefits are also in the federal grants. If that's going to cost us $125 instead of $100, what ended up happening, what we're noticing is that there was no adjustments in the grants to account for the new $125 instead of the 100. So we would have to adjust that, like the $25 revenue, or say that's not in the federal grant, what are we cutting? Right? So we kept on spending towards the federal grant without the additional revenue. And that's becomes the difference. So it's not the money wasn't sitting or wasn't spent. We were actually overbilling to the grant. And now we have to say we overbuilt there, we have to close it out. Where's that money going to come to offset where we spent? That's the reversal. Does that make a little more sense? What's really hard with the federal grants, quite honestly, so in our operating budget, we pay for salaries and some of the, like the pensions, and the city actually covers our benefits. When we put a position in grants, we cover the salary and benefits, which is a big expense. Like the benefits, we're very grateful that we have this collaboration with the city on the benefits aspect of it. So if benefits goes up 10% and the salary's going up, you're getting less out of your federal grants, the more salaries that you have in there. And salaries are going up and benefits are going up, and we were just overcharging. We needed to take a closer look at the salaries and benefits that were in the federal grants, and that's a lot of the overcharging.
Ms. Lanfear?
So who alerted us to the fact that we were overcharging?
Mr. Gray has been doing a very, very, very incredible job, and Tina Avalar. Just again, it's new eyes on the city side. There's new eyes with Dawn. I'm blanking on Dawn's last name. Yes, Dawn and Rose. So we've been in great conversation for not only the last 2 months, but the last 2 years, and really opening up a lot of conversations with the city. So the city alerted us about a year ago saying, we got to clean up some of these grants, and we've been closing out and making a lot of improvements. But over the last 2 weeks, I can't tell you how many times Crystal and Rose have been in contact. Really great collaboration and coming up with this report.
Okay, when I read the motion, I didn't really understand it. It says we're moving funds from the 1,000 general fund, which is a city line, right? And it's going to fund 3,800 school grants funds for the purpose of funding extra benefits? What extra benefits?
I'm going to speak like that's the motion that's coming from the city of how they need the transfer. So
Can you answer that, Alderman Dowd?
that's where they need the transfer in lines, whatever that's coded.
I mean, it says on here, it's for the purpose of funding extra benefits with the federal grant expenses. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what this means. And if you're saying it's the city that wrote this motion, and Alderman Dowd says he can't really explain it, then how could we make the motion
city-
if we don't know what it is for?
Well, it's a transfer of one line to another line. A really simple aspect on.
Well, okay, I see that, Dr. Andrade. I see that it says it's going into Fund 300 School Grants Fund. But it's the other line, it says, for the purpose of funding extra benefits with the federal grant expenses. I mean,
So the federal grant expenses are on our end. That's what we have the shortfall.
but why does it say funding extra benefits? What are the extra benefits?
I don't have, so the Board of
Alderman
Aldermen.
Dowd might have an
Yeah,
answer.
I think you're talking to the title on a resolution that hasn't appeared before the Board of Aldermen yet? Is that the title you're reading?
No.
So the transfer is going to have to go through some part of the Board of Aldermen.
So this is, so the Rose and her department worked with corporate counsel on getting the advice on what that motion would be. That's the motion that they came. It did not go to the Board of Aldermen for their approval. It went through the corporate council, and then it came to us on what that motion would be.
Okay, so I have a clarity question. So I think that you're saying that we are cleaning up the books, but we want to take this from what we get from the city for our employees in that employee line. But why would we go back to 2021, 22 in this school year's budget?
Is that-
Because it seems like something would be missing.
No, that's when the grants close. So not all the grants close in the right fiscal year. Some have carryover that they might be 18 months in a grace period that they're still charging, even though they're closed, you can write against for a grace period after a time period.
I understand, 18 months.
Oh, it could be. I mean, on some of the grants, like a Title I could be 18 months.
This is 2021, so my question is, we are allotted a certain amount in our budget that we put in our budget
Right.
to pay the benefits for the teachers. If we don't spend that, it goes back to the city.
Correct.
So I'm wondering, you started off your statement by saying that we put these numbers together to get to this number. How close is this number to the number that we have allotted for the teachers' benefits for this year that we're claiming against it? So speaking to the motion at hand, right? So we're moving it from one place because we originally had it in the grants. Now we want to take it from the employee line that we set aside in the budget for every single year that is part of the Nashua School District budget. Every year, that's where we want to take this money
It's
from?
from
the
last
benefits.
year, it's from the last year's benefits line that has a surplus,
Okay,
right? So that's all closed. So we did not utilize all of the benefit line
right.
in last year's, and it closed, and it goes back to the city as a surplus. And they have that as a revenue, and they use it as the city sees fit, right? And so-
Right.
Right, so that's on the city side. We don't control that line whatsoever. So if we want to go into the benefits line, we have a conversation with the city if we want to reallocate any of the benefits line. We do not control it, even though it's on our side, the city is controlling the benefit line.
So is that what
can
you're
I
asking us to
clarify?
do today?
I think my question might clarify this. So what you had said is, going back to your reference to the IDEA grants, is we're paying teacher benefits and salary with the IDEA grants, but the city pays the teacher's benefits. So instead of billing IDEA for the benefits, we're pulling the benefits from the city and repaying the IDEA.
Yeah, so we're repaying these grants with unspent benefits from last year that was closed out. So that was a surplus going back to the city that they would report out as a revenue into next year's budget or the tax rate. So that's closed. So it's not impacting this year's operating budget. We pay for a second grade teacher, a second grade teacher, we pay their salary. The city pays their benefits, right? So then you get a comprehensive package. If a teacher is in IDEA, the IDEA federal grant pays for the salary and benefits.
So we double pay on benefits essentially.
So, but the city doesn't pick up their benefits.
Right.
So some employees are on the federal grant for benefits, and some employees are on the city for benefits.
But
And
we're
then-
budgeted for all of the employees.
And they budget for all the employees.
So do we my other question, do we even have the authority to make the motion as it's written? Because we're talking about a city transfer. Wouldn't the motion be to request the alderman to approve it?
So this came from the mayor's office, from the corporate council, asking for us, for the Board of Education, to approve this tonight so that they can sign off on the DOE 25.
Okay.
Alderman Dowd?
My guess is, since it's a transfer of funds, you have to authorize it first because you're talking about school funds. It's going to come to the city, and I would presume, could be wrong, but I would presume any expenditure of funds or transfer of funds is going to have to go through the Board of Aldermen, probably first the budget and then to the Board of Aldermen. And I don't know if the president has heard of anything like that. So we haven't been informed yet, but you have to pass this tonight before we can take any action whatsoever.
One,
Do you have a meeting tomorrow?
no.
Okay.
One last question. What happens if the Board of Aldermen are like, hey, we've been sinking quite a bit of money into the school budgets lately, and we would prefer not to give you $500,000 more?
It's simply a transfer from one account to another, and it's not affecting the expenditure in the budget, so I don't see anybody having an issue with it.
So this isn't going to like have a direct, immediate impact on people's taxes?
If you had overspent your budget, that would be an issue, but this is just transferring from one account to another.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Thank you.
just for clarification on that, if the DOE 25 is not signed, then it goes to the DRA for their approval to sign off on what the city's tax rate is. So it's, once the DOE is 25, there's another approval at the state, just saying that you did your DOE 25, and then the city can release their tax rate.
Okay.
So the DOE 25 needs to be signed, and there needs to be the next step so that the city can actually get the check mark that it was submitted, and now they can release their tax rate.
Sam Fair?
So your explanation and Alderman Dowd's explanation made me feel better about voting on this motion. But I have another question about the actual amounts. Were we overbilling all these grants because of benefits, because of teacher salaries? What were?
There was, again, some are really, like, one's $520, right? So there's different reasons why things were getting built. It could be supplies. We can unpack it a little further during our F&O meeting, and I can have Mr. Gregg kind of go through, again, the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of, why did this happen? In each line, mostly like salary and benefits are, the adjustments are the bigger ones, but it might be something as simple as it was office supplies, or it could be a small item that actually added up, so, to a bigger number.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Gray and I have been talking about her kind of explaining to us in more depth, how do the grants work? How do the special revenue funds work? So I think that it would be a great idea to do this at our next meeting.
Yeah, again, I'm not happy, like, sitting up here saying this is all going on. But I also think it's, as you've been talking about, it's a good educational exercise on really the complication of the budgets on both sides and how transfers kind of going over. And as the more that we unpack how uncomfortable it may or may not be, it is healthy discussions on what what's going on here. So I think it is a good education on all of us. We also have been in contact with the Department of Education. I think we want a couple people to come in on, what does adequacy aid look like and other revenue sources, and have, again, more informational sessions as we get into our budget process for next year.
Yeah, part of the thing with the budget is that we always talk about just the operating budget, and we've never addressed the grants or anything else. And I think it's definitely time to change that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
When it comes to the grants, who's responsible for writing and receiving them?
So we have grant managers, there's different grants. So like Title I, we have a director of Title I who will be writing the activities in the grant, writing the application, working on the budget. They will work with our grant manager on, once we receive all the approvals, The grant manager does more of the accounting side on putting what's in GMS, which is the state system, putting it into Lawson and doing the billing. But we have grant managers for Title I, Title II, Title IV is more the assistant superintendent's office. Also, 21st Century is Ms. Archer. Title III is Mr. Chopra. IDEA is Mr. Alexander.
Is there a single computer system that talks to each other about all of these grants?
No.
Okay,
I mean, so there's a state GMS system, which the state says, write all your activities, what's your budget? But our Bible should be Lawson, which is the city's accounting system. So we should be tying out whatever's in GMS. We should be using Lawson because that's where we do all our billing.
right. It sounds like we're evolving our bill paying, but without the right tools, so.
Well, the right process. There's
Right.
sometimes it's just, historically, there could have been a spreadsheet, there could have been X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And by the time we bill something, it could be 2 months behind, but, that spreadsheet is 2 months in advance, saying, I think I have this money. Lawson is actually saying, you might already hit your cap, so,
Yeah, time for a financial overhaul.
yeah, it's.
Okay.
I feel like anyone that watches this meeting might be a little angry at the school board. So I'm just wondering, you're saying that it's not money that's being spent, it's just a line item that we're moving from place to place. Is that what we're supposed to tell people when they ask us?
It is a transfer. I mean, the bigger issue is where people should be, what's going on? I mean, that's a fair assessment. Where it is, it's not, it is a transfer. At the end of the day, it's a transfer, right? And it's a transfer from one line item to another to cover some of the costs. So, but it's a big number. But where I was in a couple meetings today where, again, like I would be saying, what is going on with the superintendent? What is going on with the school department? Do we know who's on first? And why is this another transfer of such a big number as we get cleaner? So I think that's a just feeling. However, it's not impacting this year's budget. We don't have to cut like a program for this year. It's just something in the past that it's a lower revenue amount at the end of the year.
Will it impact next year's budget?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Claffey?
I was wondering, how much do you think, can you throw out a number for ESSER 3? Roughly how much should we get?
ESSER 3.
How big? Because this is, if people are mad, I think we need to explain to them that the district was dealing with unprecedented sums of money. If you look at other grants before 21, $10 million. Well, if you have $10 million and then you have it sounds like a lot of money, $250,000. That's 2.5%. That means you were accurate 97.5%. You were responsible with that money. I just think they gave you a year to spend the money. You needed to spend it, and you do your best to track that money. But compared to past Title I, whatever funds we were getting, this was unprecedented.
I think between all the ESSER monies, it was, just under $50 million, right? So that came in really quickly. In hindsight, it was more of that conversation, to your point, we were having, we should have had a full-time accountant managing this where it was just who wants what, getting into the system, pay it, and kind of move forward. Not the right way to do it. But that was, again, a couple of years ago. And then still, we do get a lot of grants, whether it's Perkins, special education, SAFE grants for schools, which is about security. So there's a lot of management that goes into grants, and it's a lot of oversight.
But nothing of this size.
Nothing of this
in
size.
In 3 years.
In 3 years,
So.
yeah.
They're cleaning it up. So let's vote.
I just have one more question.
Yep.
How long did we know that we needed to clean this up? Because
So-
it didn't just happen this morning.
We've been working on, we were hoping that we would have everything cleaned up, the final number, last week. And that we would have brought it to the board on Monday. So we knew we were off for the last, 3 weeks or so, but we didn't know that exact number or how big it was going to be. So again, we've been in a lot of contact with the city, the cleaning, and the cleaning up of the grants. So even we're looking at next year on, just speaking to SO3, we know that there's a couple lines that we have to look at a little more closely on that. So we've been doing, again, yeoman's work the last year cleaning up a lot of these grants.
Okay, so we have another meeting that needs to happen now. Joint special needs to start, so I think let's vote on this. All right? Okay, so all those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so let's wrap up this meeting. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are out of our special board meeting at 7:07.
I think